A healthy agency relationship should be transparent, commercially grounded, and constructively challenging. And if it falls short of this, it could be time to ask some questions. This is the B2B Performance Marketing Podcast by Webmarketer, here to help you make the right moves with your B2B advertising. No spin, no smoke and mirrors, just honest insights from the advertising front line.
Welcome back. Today we're looking to create a bit of a danger-free zone. I know this sounds dramatic, but today what we're trying to do is help you avoid some of the horror shows that we see happen in the PPC industry.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we are not saying that every agency is terrible. Far from it. We know there are loads of brilliant agencies out there, but there is also a lot more bad practice in the industry than we're comfortable with. So our aim today is, if you are looking to choose a new agency or you're questioning the agency that you're working with, we want to run through kind of what's normal, what's maybe a little bit annoying, and what should make you run for the hills.
So the idea is to pull back the curtains a little bit, run you through the warning signs of when working with a new agency and what to look out for when your existing agency starts to drift a little bit. The aim is simple. We want to help you hire a great agency or sanity check whether things feel off with an existing agency. So let's start at the start then. Before things are signed, what are some of the red flags in the pitch, Lou?
So the first one for me is this idea of a snake oil salesman. So this is someone that's going to say yes to absolutely everything, or is going to position their agency as one that can do absolutely everything, both in the name of getting the sale at any cost. Generally, this is a bit of a warning sign because a good performance marketing agency will know when to say no.
There's a few things here. Now, first off, I also like to go by the saying that if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. For example, an agency saying that they can get you 10x the lead volume without even seeing ad account data. It's also worth noting that a good agency will have a good breadth of skill, but they'll also be very clear on what their scope is. So really it's this idea of overpromising with no intention on delivering on those promises, essentially stopping at nothing to get the sale. Whereas a conscientious advertising agency is going to be really clear on what they can do for you and what they can't.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something when Webmarketer first started up, and I was speaking to what would go on to be our biggest client at the time. And the client asked me if I could do anything about the unread leads in the leads inbox. But basically the sales team weren't picking up all the leads and responding to them. I felt the urge to say yes because it felt like I might lose the sale if I said no. But realistically, I did have to say no, and that wasn't a PPC thing. And a really interesting thing happened for me then, because instead of the conversation being shut down and that being the end of it, actually the conversation opened up and we started having a much more open and honest discussion. And it kind of flicked a switch with me then, in that built a level of trust, actually saying no rather than agreeing to everything. And so that's the main point really, is that saying no is not always a negative thing. Sometimes it can be a massive trust builder.
A good way to check this is to ask your agency what their scope covers and what it doesn't. And if their answer sounds like everything, then your spidey senses should really be tingling. Another one to flag is fake expertise. So someone that really sounds like they know what they're talking about, but then when it comes to doing it in practice, they just can't deliver on it.
Yeah, this can be a really difficult thing to spot if you're not a platform specialist yourself. But a really good way to weed this out is to ask for any information to be explained in a different way. Because when someone really knows their subject matter, they should be able to reposition it again and again and again until the information lands. This is also part of the reason why it's so important to ask for references, especially from current and past clients. And what's also really important is to ask about the times when things have gone bad, as well as when things have been going really well, because actually you don't really know an agency's true colors until you've seen them in a crisis. So, do they lean in until something's fixed, or do they kind of bury their heads in the sand and try and hope that it goes away?
Okay, so let's fast forward. The contract is signed and the relationship starts. Now, this is where we move into technical setup. And the really big one here is ad account ownership. Almost always, your business should own your ad account and pay for the ad spend itself. You don't want to get into a situation where the agency owns the ad account and eventually that relationship ends and you find yourself in a position where that account might not actually belong to you. Because when you leave, the most likely thing that will happen is that you lose access and you have to start again. And starting again is no small thing. This is because you'll lose all of that performance data, the settings, the structure, the setup, the retargeting audiences you've got, any algorithm learnings, and all of this is something that will have to be built up from scratch again. Your ad account is a business asset, and losing it can set your performance back for months. So if your agency is holding you back from having that ad account, this can cause massive problems, and it might be something that you don't realize until it's too late.
The same goes for reporting. You should be able to see the undoctored ad account data rather than just a pretty PDF with select screenshots and tables and a few green arrows going up. I'm always really wary of reports that just show a positive story that the agency wants to tell. Back in episode 6, we covered that any insights should help you decide, demonstrate, or diagnose something, which means that a report shouldn't just be a highlight reel of the best bits or the most interesting information. You kind of want the warts and all version. That's what's most important, because you're going to have good months and you're going to have bad months. And obviously you want a lot more good months than bad months, but really it's the bad months where you learn stuff. And those are the bits that lead to the overall success of an ad program. Also, if that's just getting swept under the carpet and hidden, there's a very good chance that your performance is just stagnating.
This is where tracking comes in as well. Running campaigns without conversion tracking is what we call spray and pray. We've seen so many ad accounts that don't even have conversion tracking set up. And that makes us wonder, what are they actually reporting on? Because all the most useful information isn't even being measured. It's a well-known fact that when people walk through a forest without a map, then they tend to go in circles. And that's exactly what happens here in your ad account if you don't have proper conversion tracking in place. Also, in B2B, surface level conversion tracking is the bare minimum. Yes, you need to know about form fills and calls, but you really need to know what's turning into qualified leads, pipeline, and revenue.
Yeah, so next up, and this is one that really grinds my gears, it's the whole BS and techno babble side of things. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of performance marketing is really technical. You know, conversion tracking, tag manager in general, offline conversion imports, CRM integration, attribution, it's all really complex stuff. But there's a massive difference in explaining something technical in a way that someone less technical can understand it versus using buzzword bingo to the point where they're none the wiser. And on top of this, I've been involved in so many conversations where people have used jargon to cover up the fact that they don't really know what they're talking about. And so the same as we've said before on another one of the red flags is it's often a good idea to get someone to explain what they're talking about in different ways until either A, you get it, or that person becomes unstuck because they don't actually know.
Okay, so we've covered the pitch and the technical setup. Now let's talk about what happens day to day. Complacency is one of the most common complaints that we hear about from potential clients. They'll say, they were great to start, but we just can't get a hold of them now, and we're not actually sure if they're really doing the work. And when we hear this, the approach we take is to take a look into the account and seeing what work is being done. Is it a case that they are still doing the work and they've just dropped the ball on communication, or have they taken a little bit of a set and forget approach? And it's sad to say that more often than not, it's the latter, which is a big problem because performance marketing needs ongoing management. Now, this doesn't mean changing things all the time, but if you're looking in and you're only seeing 1 or 2 small changes a month, then it does give you a really good reason to question what is actually being done here.
The next one is changing faces, like when you speak to someone really impressive during the sales process, but then as soon as you become a client, they disappear and you work with someone else. Now, it's not always a bad thing, right? But if you were expecting to work with the person you were speaking with during the sales process and you end up just being passed on to a junior, or if your primary POC changes all the time and you end up having to re-explain yourself over and over again, that's where it becomes a problem. The same goes with the person actually doing the work in the ad account as well. Sometimes there's a separate ad ops person and an account manager, and sometimes that role is one and the same. But if the same person is doing the work over time, they get a really good feel for, the budgets, the targets, the channel mix, what works, what doesn't. This is all stuff that makes someone feel like an extension of your team, and it takes months to fully digest. Like, you can't just pick it up overnight. So if that person is constantly changing, then that's a lot of time being wasted.
Now, let's move on to financial red flags. The first one is pricing that looks too good to be true. Now, cheap isn't automatically bad. Every agency has different overheads, different models, and different levels of senior involvement. But if the fee is suspiciously low, then it makes sense to ask how this price is possible. Because proper PPC management takes time, experience, and specialist skill to do well. If the fee doesn't support the work, then it might be that the work's getting pushed to juniors, or it's not getting enough attention, or you're just getting a cookie cutter approach. And this is where cheap all of a sudden becomes expensive. Because yes, you might be saving money on management, but you're then wasting money on ad spend, poor tracking, bad decisions, and missed opportunities.
And it's not about hiring the most expensive agency either. It's about looking at whether the fee realistically supports the level of thinking, care, and execution that your ad account needs. The most bang for buck doesn't come from hiring the cheapest agency or the most expensive one. It comes from hiring the agency that's going to be the most profitable to your business.
And finally, we need to talk about spending pressure. So where you are constantly being pushed to increase your budget. Now, sometimes increasing budget is the right choice. If your campaigns are looking good, the lead quality is solid, there's room to scale, then increasing budget is a no-brainer. But if your agency charges a percentage of media spend, then they're financially incentivized to increase the budget. So you might find them recommending an increase even if the performance isn't there to justify it yet. The bottom line is that increasing your budget should line your business's pockets first, before anyone else's.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap. There are loads of great performance marketing agencies out there, but there are also loads of not so great practices to watch out for as well. Before you sign anything, be wary of agencies that promise everything, say yes to everything, or have suspicious pricing. When things are getting set up, make sure that you own your own ad account, that conversion tracking is properly set up, and that you can see all of the data, even if it's only on request. When you're in the weeds of full management, watch out for complacency, set and forget approaches, pressure to increase the budget without a good commercial reason, and constant handovers. A healthy agency relationship should be transparent, commercially grounded, and constructively challenging. And if it falls short of this, it could be time to ask some questions.
And if anything that we talked through today made you question your current setup, you can book a coffee call with us to talk it through. Just head to webmarketeruk.com/PPC-coffee-call for a second opinion. We hope you enjoyed listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.